That came out when I was shuffling the cards, and then we'll go into your reading. Okay, the first message that I'm getting here is for some of you, I do feel you are working very, very, very diligently, but for some reason it seems like there has always been a shortage of money. So it feels like there's financial worries is what I'm sensing here. I do sense that it's really important for us to, overall live within our means. So that means whatever we're making, we want to not adjust our lifestyle or our taste to match up with our earnings. So I feel like that might be an area where you can curb your appetite so that the money situation is not diminishing faster than it can replenish itself. Okay, so that's the first thing. The other thing that I'm feeling is because you're working so hard, because you're spending so much time at work, I feel for some of you, you're getting to know your coworkers a lot more, and there might be traits coming out that you might not like. And it's a normal process of once we get to know someone, we can't always like everything about them. So I do feel that it's important to cultivate a more of a team player spirit because you're going to need to interact heavily with other people coming through for this month. So, really stand up for the things that you want and really try to communicate your needs, your expectations, rather than doing all the work yourself. So you might be finding yourself in a situation where you're pigeonholed into volunteering or taking on extra responsibility for whatever reason you feel like that it was imposed upon you, or you felt pigeonholed into taking on these responsibilities, and you might not feel like it's fair. You might not even feel like the other people are carrying their weight in the partnership, in the work relationship. And so I feel like a little bit of resentment coming through from your end. The other thing that I'm feeling as well is I feel for some of you, you're spending so much time at work, and especially for those in, who are coupled up, who are married specifically, there's temptation coming through from the work environment. Okay, there's temptation. Be very, very careful about that. It's not going to lead down a good path, and it's really important for you to, keep your nose to the grindstone and just, not succumb to temptation. Okay, that's just my advice overall. I feel almost like, okay, so I feel almost like there is a situation here where a lot of you might have recently broken up with somebody, right? And I feel like you're burying yourself in work. You're just trying to like not think about it. You're keeping yourself quite busy so that you're not ruminating, thinking about the past, thinking about the ex-lover. And I feel like this is the month in which, um, projects might be stalled. Things are not like gonna go exactly the way that you'd hope. And because you are just like work, work, work to suppress these emotional urges, right? They're gonna manifest in a way where they might come up in the work environment. Okay, so manage your emotions in a way that's healthy. If something needs to be let out, if you need to vent, definitely find an outlet for it. Otherwise, it's going to creep up on you very unexpectedly. It might make you irritable. It might make the people around you, it might make it difficult to tolerate the people around you because you're dealing with some inner things that are not, being hashed out properly, or there isn't an outlet for you for your emotional, um, there isn't an emotional outlet for you. And so find an outlet to do that. Do some creative work, okay? Don't just bury yourself in work and hoping that these things will go away. Because I do feel here that you might lash out at the wrong people, okay? You might find coworkers extra irritable this month as well. And so it's creating discord in the work environment. So just be very, very careful of pent up feelings and trying to bury yourself in work as a result of not dealing with some emotional issues. Okay, so that's just a warning that I'm feeling for some of you. For others of you, I see like you're very, very restless. So it feels to me like a lot of you have plans to travel, but the travel plans are being stalled. That's what I'm feeling here. With this, the world card in the reverse, it's almost like, waiting for opportunities to expand outward geographically. but you're also waiting on the decision of news from another person. You might be traveling with another person. You might even be like making plans with another person. You might be traveling to promote specific projects, for example, and you're waiting for the green light. And I feel that, things need to be redone, revamped, revisited, redone overall. So as a result of that, you're waiting on decisions from other people. You're waiting for other people to wrap up their projects. And they're not able to do that on their own, or either that they're stalling because they want you to rush in and save the day. Okay? So I'm sensing some people are just like reneging on their responsibilities, not doing their fair share of the work because they're expecting you to come in and try to, pick up their slack. And I do sense that this has been an ongoing issue. Some of you might be dealing with coworkers that I feel like there's a lot of like idle chit chat and a lot of work that's unfinished because they're distracted. Okay. And so they're saying to be very, very patient on the work front, okay? And especially don't do the work that other people are supposed to do, okay? I feel like you're anxious to wrap things up, to finish up. You're anxious to get published. You're anxious to get things done. You're anxious to move on to new projects. And so it might just be easier because you have a lot of skills. It might just be easier for you to do the work for the other people because they're dragging their feet and they're slowing you down. But the important thing here is it's all about fairness, and it's all about, whose responsibility is that, and holding them accountable. So that means not enabling that behavior, and don't rush in to save the day. Okay, so that's just my advice overall when it comes to your work environment. It seems to me like that's the main source of contention in this spread. I'm feeling for some of you, there's just overwhelming need to just, want to get away, want to break out of your comfort zone, want to break out of your skin, want to break. Like, I'm feeling like possibly wanting to take a vacation, feeling a little bit burned out either from work or school or daily life or the minutia of everyday, the ins and out of every day, trying to sustain yourself. And I feel like financially, you want to take a big trip, but financially, you might not have the means to do that. And so you might be working overtime. You might be, in high demand in the work environment. And you might have a specific skill set where you're indispensable to your employer, and so they don't want you to leave just yet, and you're feeling a little bit frustrated here. It's almost like there might not be enough people working, so you're working a lot of overtime, and you're doing a lot of work on top of that because of the employee shortage. Okay, so I feel like it's taking its toll on you. So they're saying, a lot more physical activities, especially if you're working in an office and you're like dormant all day. You might feel this irritable energy. If that's the case, you need to do a lot more physical activity, getting a lot more, of a lighter diet, but more like getting your metabolism up. That's going to be really important for you to not feel frustrated. It is really important to dissipate our negative energies in a healthy way. So, diet, exercise, like physical exercise, creative, creating something like doing art, doing something that is recreationally good for you in order to dissipate that energy. Okay, so creative work, diet, like physical exercise, that's really important. I feel like you're working very late into the night. I see some of you are possibly like managers or like supervisors. You're called upon to train new staff. You have a lot of skills, you have a lot of things that you can contribute to this training session, and the people that you're training, they're not taking their job seriously. And it's frustrating, right? It's really frustrating when we are so serious and we're making a huge sacrifice with our time and the people that you're training. I also feel like they might not be mentally and intellectually, they might not be at the same level. So the training material might be a little bit difficult for them to swallow, like to comprehend, to really, digest. And I feel like you're going to have to then redo it and cater the training to their appropriate, level of comprehension or to their appropriate level. because I feel like you want them and you expect them to be up here, but the baseline is they're, below expectation. So I feel like you're going to have to redo and cater a training session to meet your audience's needs. Okay, so that's what I'm sensing. If you are writing a book and wanting to get published, writing an article, writing a research paper, you're going to have to dumb down, you're going to have to like dumb down the language, because you might be explaining things in a very, very technical manner. And if it's something like on a very on a subject that's not very well known, or on an esoteric, thesis, for example, your audience, you need to be able to relate to your audience in a way where you provide the background, you provide the baseline so that they understand what you're saying, first of all, before you can lead them in and, present them that big finale. Okay, so you have to like really cater to your audience. So that might mean explaining things more in layman's terms so that everybody's on the same page before you pile on those big vocabularies. Does that make sense? So I feel there's an element here about, being in the public eye, and the where you are is so highly elevated, and where your audience is down here. So you need to somehow recalibrate and make sure they understand what you are saying, so that they can be convinced as to, whatever it is that you're trying to present to them. Okay, so that's very important for some of you. First of all, I'm also getting this message about daycare, childcare, daycare. I'm feeling like some of you are either retired and you're called upon by children who might have, children of their own, and they're either shifting between houses, shifting between jobs, they're traveling, and you're going to have to take on a maternal role. And you have unruly children, okay, like grandchildren especially, or even, grandnieces, grandnephews, and things like that. So I feel like you're retired, you might be called upon to babysit, and you have some unruly kids, and you're just trying your best. But I feel like things are going to work out, in that manner. The parents will come back, and then they will take them off your hands, and things will be okay. So you're trying. I'm seeing some of you, especially if you're grandmothers or grandfathers, your health might be a little bit in decline. You're not as agile as you used to be, and you might have to babysit children that are very active. And I feel like, don't push yourself, okay? Choose activities that are appropriate, okay? So that sense of like meeting somebody halfway, like, meeting them at their level, rather than, exerting your energy trying to do something that's physically harmful to you or physically not possible for you. That's really important, okay? So cater specific activities, such as letting them, sit still and do some artwork, learning to bake with them or teaching them how to bake, doing something that is age appropriate for yourself so that you're not overexerting yourself physically. So that's important for those who are babysitting, for example. And I'm also feeling for those who are working, there are a lot of work demands, possibly a lot of overtime, and you are in need of a babysitter. If you have children, you're in need of childcare, you're in need of like some services that you feel like financially you might be even financially strapped and you can't really afford these services. So they're saying in that case, try to reach out to family members, because I feel like that's going to be probably the logical way to go. Okay, so reach out to family members. All right. Here's the last relationship thing. I feel like a lot of you have dealt with this fire sign here. So we have here a Sagittarius, an Aries, or a Leo. Give me just a moment. I'm feeling like this is somebody you might have had children with, okay? And I feel like if you share children, there has been some hostilities between the two families, okay? It's a co-parenting situation. And I feel like there has been some hostilities. The other person might have like gotten into a new relationship, or they're trying to get married, or you yourself are trying to get married. And of course, with the third person into that in that co-parenting situation, things are going to get complicated. So I feel like there's some disapproval here about, sharing children with somebody, and then that other person is trying to get married, or you are trying to get married, and there's disapproval coming through because for the children's safety. And I mean, the disapproval is coming through as an issue of the child's safety, the child's well-being. But that's not the case. I feel like that's more of a it's like a false argument that somebody is putting on the table, but I feel like it has nothing to do with the child's safety. It has more to do with, somebody not wanting their ex to move on, somebody wanting to have control over who their ex gets to date or who to bring into the picture. So I feel like you're contending with that, like co-parenting, as you're trying to move on with your life, or the partner is trying to move on with theirs, or the ex-partner is trying to move on with theirs, and there's like disapproval as to who the old person is dating. Okay, so I feel like that element coming through. I'm seeing quite a bit of blockages here. I'm also feeling as if, I feel like there's just a situation overall where you want to pick your battles. That's what it feels like to me. You want to pick your battles, and especially if problems have arisen in the past where they're irrevocable, like they're irreversible, decisions that have been made and, finalized on. I feel almost like it's a custody issue, and I feel that, the parent and the child, um, the co-parent, whoever you're sharing children with, and whoever you're sharing custody issues with, they're kind of like trying to switch up the terms of their agreement, and I feel like it's creating quite a bit of disruption in your own life. Okay, so you want like the custody issue to be, set in stone so that you can plan your life, you can plan your work situation, but they're switching things up. So I feel like there's annoyances coming in from that, in that regards. Okay, I do sense as well there's some new revelations coming through in the work environment. Somebody might be leaving the work environment, which creates more work for everybody that's left behind. So I feel like this is going to be a very, very busy month. I feel like a lot of things are happening for you guys. And a lot of it, unfortunately, is happening around you. Okay. So the main thing here is, I feel like, heavy energy with work, heavy energy with co-parents, heavy energy with children and people you're training who might be uncooperative. And so the advice is, maintain, like really pick your battles, figure out where you stand, and figure out, the things that are outside of your control versus the things that you can control, and catering your communication so that you can effectively persuade or sway the audience that you're trying to communicate with. Okay, I also feel like this is a really important month for you to stand your ground, for you to be very assertive, for you to be very clear. Okay, so don't shy away from conflict for this month. Okay, stand your ground, pick your battles, but don't shy away from conflict. So don't be conflict avoidant if that's the situation you've dealt with in the past. Keeping your head low, mainly because you want to fly under the radar. I don't feel that energy is going to fly this month. Okay, some things are getting revealed on the work front, and you're going to have to be the one to confront it and to fix it. Okay, I'm going to move into your love readings, and hopefully the energy is a little bit more lighthearted. So, Libras, I keep seeing this, and it's been happening for the past few months. Okay, so I'm trying to figure out where it's coming from. So first of all, what I'm feeling is this. I feel like some of you have had a relationship where you felt like you should have defended the other person, where you felt like you should have really stuck by the other person, and for whatever reason you didn't, because of, pressure from the outside, pressure from family, pressure from work, and you didn't prioritize that person. And they're saying, like an apology is long overdue. Okay, especially if it's like an ex relationship partner, if that resonates with you, make that apology. Otherwise, it keeps coming up in my spread. Okay, it's almost like you had to stand up for somebody, but you didn't for whatever reason, and you're looking back now, and you're just like, I wish I would have done that. And so, if that's the case that you're dealing with, say that apologies are never belated. Okay, if it's sincere, if it's genuine, it's never a bad time to say an apology. Okay, no matter how many years has passed, because ultimately, apologies, it takes a really strong person to apologize. And apologizing basically means owning up to our mistakes so that we can learn from them, and become better people. Okay, they're never belated, they're never shunned. I've never seen it shunned. There might be people who react to it in a way where, you know, I just feel like if it's from the heart, if it's sincere, it needs to be said. Okay, so let me see here. Yeah, I'm seeing this co-parenting situation that's already quite contentious. And then I'm seeing like, you know, so let's just say if you're a mother and you split up from the ex-husband, let's just say the ex-husband might have like a new woman in the picture that he's trying to, you know, get married to. And I'm feeling like it's a little bit of a messy situation because he's like, do I invite her or do I not invite her? Do I invite the kids or what do I do? So I feel like it's a little bit of a messy co-parenting situation because dad's girlfriend, dad's boyfriend, because of mom's girlfriend, mom's boyfriend is also involved in the picture. So I feel like, you know, in the spirit of adulthood, let's just try to move on, okay? Let's try to, oh, yeah, I'm not doing reversals, I forgot. Let's just try to let bygones be bygones and try to move on. So here is, so that's coming out again in this spread. So let's just go on with this. Okay, so the central theme here, we have here the Page of Swords, okay? So this is not so much you. This is more of an energy of messages, communication, news that are a little bit unexpected, okay? News about an ex that has definitely moved on, and news about, you know, somebody that we cared about or somebody that we really once upon a time had a really soft spot for. You are hearing news that they're moving on. And so I feel like a lot of you might have been dealing with this person. This is a Scorpio, Pisces, or a Cancer. This is the King of Cups. This is somebody that I feel is, you know, I usually think of this, honestly, like emotionally, this is Mr. Right. Like emotionally, this is a very loving, very kind person. This person loves children. They love animals. And they really will honestly take a bullet for you. They will do everything within their power to make sure that they can protect you. If they're really in love with you, they will do all of those things. If they're not in love with you, then I feel like, you know, you text them. It takes a few days for them to text back, just so you know where you stand with them, okay? So like if they were really in love with you, you know, you will know, they will make it known to you. And I feel like this is somebody that emotionally is very, very loving, very giving, okay? We have another person in the picture. This is a couple here. So I feel like they're either dating and they're getting very serious with each other, or there's news and announcements that they're getting married, or there's news and announcements that, you know, they're expecting a child, okay? So I feel like this might be your ex, and you're hearing news about them already moving on with another person. You might physically see the both of them walking together down the street. You might have heard through like a third party, or you might have like dug up some information and found this out. Okay, so I feel like an ex of yours has moved on, and they're like in a very serious relationship right now. I'm also seeing for some of you, the ex is in another relationship, and you have moved on, and the ex is contacting you saying that they're miserable in the new relationship, and yet they're still in the new relationship. And so you're looking at this like, shame on you. And that's when you realize that, wow, that ex, I can't really get back with that ex because, you know, he or she is with somebody else, all the while telling me or trying to reach out to me saying that they want me back. So I feel like that revelation is going to be quite shocking, okay? And so you're going to move on from it. This is the 10 of swords here. This is the end of the line. It's done and over with. You can't really go back from it. So I feel like some of you might be tempted, but based on your own sense of morality, based on, you know, your own sense of karmic justice, I feel like you want to leave this situation alone. And you're going to be very sure that this is that leaving this person was the right thing. Okay, so it's done, over with, moving on. Um, in the past, this is your energy. This is the King of Swords, and this is why I feel like this is a messenger. Okay, you're getting news from an ex about, you know, them either moving on or they're in another relationship and they're trying to contact you still. But I feel like for many of you, it might be them moving on. You might not approve of the person that they're moving on with. The kids might not approve of the person that they're moving on with, but it's going to happen no matter what. So you can't really control this outcome, okay? So either way, going back to this card, this is the card that represents you. This is about being smarter and wiser, thinking with our head rather than our hearts. And I know that that's not exactly smarter and wiser. However, in this context, being a little bit more skeptical, feeling a little bit jaded by love overall. And so you're taking a practical approach when it comes to love and relationships, okay? I also feel like for some of you, you've dealt with quite a bit of disappointment in the past here. This is the Five of Cups, where people make promises they can't really keep, where people, and I usually think of the Five of Cups as like a situation that might produce children, and you thought it was going to be a forever thing. You thought it was safe and secure, and so you had children with the other person, and then it didn't work out for whatever reason. And so you're left, you know, having to take care of a lot of things on your own. And because of it, you became a lot smarter, wiser, and a lot more practical. So I feel like a lot of you have overcome some challenges. You're taking charge of your household. You're taking charge of your relationships, and you're prioritizing children, child rearing, and you're prioritizing parenting, which is really good. And so because of that, it's still a very bittersweet, you know, there's still a little bit of resentment with exes because they led you down a rosy path, you know. So I feel like there's still some animosity here that needs to be worked out. And it's, especially if you're still dealing with this and your ex is moving on, it's going to be a bitter pill to swallow. Okay, so I feel that coming through. And so my assessment here is if it's a relationship and they're moving on and you don't approve of the new person, okay, I feel that they need to come to that conclusion on their own. You meddling in the situation or you vehemently like denying or rejecting that other person, it's going to push them both away a lot further. And if the kids are involved too, it's going to be really difficult for you to negotiate. Okay, so try to be a lot more. It's a sticky situation all the way around, but I would say try to be a lot more diplomatic, okay? Be smart about this, having a strategy, having a plan, okay? That's going to go a long way, and I feel like ultimately that ex-partner is going to have to pretty much, you know, like come to the terms with the fact that they're with the wrong person, but they need to arrive at that conclusion on their own. I'm also feeling here, some of you, I'm sensing like you might have been like knowingly been involved with somebody who's in another relationship. Okay, so I feel like that. Like you started out like not knowing they were in another relationship. You found out they were in another relationship, and the person that your partner is still trying to win you back. And you've been through a lot of disappointment as a result of these revelations. But a deep part of you has always known. There's this intuition kicking in where you knew like something was off. You knew like for whatever reason they didn't spend the major holidays with you. And so, you know, your intuition was telling you this person is in another relationship. They might potentially be married. And yet they keep trying to reel you back in. And there's a lot of chemistry, a lot of sexual attraction in this relationship, but they're telling you this is not the right way to go about this, and it's not smart, a smart investment for you. So just something to keep in mind about, okay? And we also here have the Seven of Wands, and the Seven of Wands is basically standing up for what you believe in. However, if somebody else is if somebody that you want is in a relationship, you need to really let this go, okay? Think about long term what you're hoping to achieve, because I feel like a lot more of a strategy is required here, and you need to think things through logically, rationally, rather than thinking more from like a physical attraction standpoint, okay? So be very, very realistic about that. The last interpretation from this spread here, the message I'm getting here is I feel like somebody, so once again, co-parenting situation, somebody wants you to somebody wants to move, somebody wants to travel, and if you have like children together, it's going to be very hard to work out the logistics, but they're very, very sure, and it seems to me like they have already decided, so they're going to be leaving the picture. They want to move, and you can't let that happen because it's going to make the custody issue very difficult. And I just want to say this, okay? This whoever that wants to move, they're trying to move on with their lives, so it's not done in a personal way. It's not done to make things difficult for you. And so it's really important for us to put things into perspective and realize, which battles are we fighting, because this person is not doing it to try to get back at you. They're doing it because they're trying to move on for whatever reason. They might have like a good job elsewhere. There might be like a good housing situation elsewhere. They're just trying to move on, and this has nothing to do with, them trying to create more troubles for you. So keep that in mind. And I'm seeing for those of you specifically, if you are involved here with a water sign, Pisces, Cancer, or Scorpio, I feel like this person feels for whatever reason that you are their perfect match, okay? So they want to take the relationships to the next level, and I feel like you're not ready for that. So I feel like, you need to tell them to slow down. They're trying to speed things up. And I do sense as well, you have a lot on your plate for this month. You have a lot of work. I feel like it's a busy energy. And so you might not want to, you know, take things to the next level, like escalate things, because you might not have the time to properly devote to it. Okay? So overall, it's a little bit of a mixed bag, but I feel like a lot of problems coming through from other people. So, navigate this energy very lightly. Communication is really important, Libra. So you have to understand where your audience is or who your audience is, right? And then communicate accordingly, okay? So I feel like knowing, like being able to put yourself in another person's shoes, not to excuse their behavior, but to also understand where they're coming from so that you can better persuade them. That's going to be really important, okay? I'm going to be back for the mid-month reading, and I'm hoping to be able to flush out some of this energies for you guys. But I do wish you all the best, and I do wish, the strength, the fortitude, and the knowledge and wisdom as well to navigate this energy. It's a little bit confusing, and I feel like it might be challenging, okay? But we have here new passions as well. Okay, so I feel like it's going to be it's a very dynamic, interesting month, okay? And I'll be back for the mid-month reading. If you'd like to book a private reading with me, Libras, the information is in the description box below. It's on my webpage where you can click on it and book an appointment for yourself. My availability and the scheduling website, it's all on the main website. I'll talk to you soon, okay? Take care of yourself. Bye-bye.